You know, it's that time of year when I start making videos on this type of equipment. This is a darn new snowblower. I mean, there's not too much use on this thing. However, it does not want to turn over. It appears to be completely seized up. We're going to dive into that and maybe a whole lot more in this video, so stick around. So like I was saying, this thing is practically new. Actually, as a matter of fact, I just noticed that the tag is still here from shipping it. And yeah, it's not turning over. It is completely seized up. I am not quite sure what's going on here, but one thing I noticed as I was doing a quick walk around here and doing my B-roll is that right there, it appears to be like a mouse nest of sorts. So I'm wondering if that has, they built it all the way up into the recoil assembly maybe. So I'm going to start by pulling the recoil, looking inside there to see if there's anything that might be stopping it from turning over. And if you guys hear a little bit of background noise right now, kind of like a fan, well, that's because it's a little bit colder outside. So my heater has been kicking on lately, keeping me nice and toasty here in the shop. And we're supposed to get some snow, so I'm hoping to get this snowblower fixed up ASAP. So let's get all of the bolts off holding the recoil, see what's inside here. Okay, well, got something came out there, but unfortunately the recoil apparently is working just fine, so that's not good. At least that's not the problem, but what about inside? So inside the cooling fan shroud here, doesn't look like a whole bunch, but we do have this little thing here. I'm not quite sure what that is, but it doesn't seem that bad. I might have to take the cooling shroud off, which if I do, it's a bit more entailed because I got to remove the tank and a whole bunch of other stuff, but I should be able to rotate this by hand if it isn't seized, but there's no way that's happening. So, okay, let's move on to the next step. So I did check the oil, but just for fun, I'm going to show you guys. There is oil in here, and it has been used because the oil is a little bit on the darker side, but it's all there. So that's a good sign. It means that it wasn't, or it shouldn't have been run dry, I would hope. And the next thing I want to try is I'm just going to put a small little wrench, 3-foot Johnson bar here, on the flywheel, and I'm going to try and tighten it. I don't want to put too much pressure here because I don't want to break anything, but I want to see if it rotates. And, we got movement. We got movement. Okay, so I was able to break it free, but it was pretty stiff. So, it doesn't, yeah, see now it's seized up again. So I don't like that, but I have an idea. So the plan here is to remove the spark plug, and I'm going to take a dive down in there with my inspection camera to see if I can locate any kind of rust buildup on the pistons or a bent valve or something like that, because maybe, I have no idea how long this sat, because it could have sat for a while in like just condensation could have built up along the side of the cylinder walls. And I'd like to give you guys as much, let's say, background on this equipment as possible. And the story behind this one is a subscriber's friend's unit, and she's a single lady now. Her husband passed, and I was asked to see if I go take a quick look at it to get it fired up, because we're supposed to have a pile of snow coming. So when I walked into the shed, I took a quick look and I found that it wasn't turning over, as you saw. So here we are now, and of course I had to oblige, Can never say no to helping someone. All right, well, what do we have here? The plug is carboned up pretty badly. However, it's not crushed, which is a good sign, which means the piston hasn't kissed it. So that's a good thing. Now let's get the inspection camera, take a look inside, and hopefully the piston's not all the way up so we can actually see the cylinder walls. Alright, here we go, guys. Hopefully you can hear me because my fan just kicked on for the heat, but here we go. The piston's not too far up, so that's nice. Doesn't have too much carbon buildup either, but doesn't surprise me at all because we don't have much use from the looks of it. What else we got here? Good hash marks on the sidewall. Piston is okay. Not seeing any like evidence of why this thing would not want to turn over. Oh wait, what is that? Okay, if I can stop moving. Looks like a little bit of, yeah, a little bit of surface rust. Doesn't seem to be raised or anything, so that's not, I'm not overly concerned with that. The rings could be stuck a little bit, you know, based off what I just seen there. Can I get on the other side of this? Keep looking at the same side. Am I able to scooch around here? Still new with these. Everything looks okay so far. Yeah, you know what? That's the bottom, so that makes sense. I think what we're gonna do while I'm working away here, I'm gonna just spray some penetrating oil down the cylinder here and hope that it makes its way around the rings. I'm gonna be pretty, you know, pretty heavy on that. And yeah, I think we'll move on to making the next steps, and that's going to be to remove the nest that's underneath that tank. So let's get to that. That is looking much better. I'm going to do a final little cleanup with some, you know, parts cleaner and all that stuff. However, while I was looking in here, this is the one reason why I don't like having rodents in my sheds and all that stuff. Look at what they did right over here on the electrical side. So this is your on-off switch, and nothing terrible at this point, but they started eating away at the insulation of the wire. Like, they didn't get through to the core, so that's not bad. And even over here, this is just like a rubber shielding to isolate the wires from each other, but they're super far from each other. It's not a problem. I'm not going to worry too much about it, but the fact is, something was living in here. Guys, if you suspect a rodent problem, I highly recommend you call a professional to have that dealt with, because you don't want to have dire consequences like broken wires or something like that. Had we have not found that nest, it's sitting right on top of the cylinder, that could cause a fire, and I mean, the gas tank's right above it. So, you know, have it looked at professionally. And if we move on here to the next thing, we're going to start putting it back together, but the oil that I did check earlier is pretty light, and it's also quite dark. So we're going to do an oil change, and then hopefully we can fire this up. Okay, let's take this drain plug out. And I like the fact that it drains straight out the back here, and hopefully doesn't leave me with a mess. Okay, let's see how dark it is. Oh yeah, it's pretty dark. So I feel good about changing this, and then in the meantime, let's start putting stuff together, like maybe the recoil. But I suppose before I put the recoil in place, it might be a good idea for me to check to see if it's going to be freed up. So nice and slow, I'm going to put this back on here. I mean, the oil has been doing its job on top of the rings. So let's see if we can crack it here. Oh yeah, actually, wow. You know what? That was like super easy. I didn't have to do much there. Maybe that's what it was. I just... Oh, there's a nice tight spot again. Oh. Okay. And you can see what happens when the piston goes up and down. Causes that suction. You know what? This is... Oh, there's that spot. So there is a little bit of something going on in here. Haven't figured out what it is. But maybe if I go this way, get a full rotation out of it, and it stops right there again. So I'm not quite getting a full rotation. So let's see. Nice and slow again. I'm going to take a little bit of leverage away so I don't break it. Oh, there we go. it's like it goes over a little bit of rust. I'm not sure what's going on, but I think if I put the recoil on there, I should be lucky enough to get it freed up by hand without turning the fuel on or firing it up right away, just to break those rings in a little bit, I suppose, and hope that everything runs good after. Now that I have the oil all drained out and I've got the plug back in and torqued, I've also installed the cover up here because we know the belts are all good. Everything's fine there. Before I go ahead and add some oil, I'm going to tip this up on the tub because we're going to inspect the underneath, all of the drive, making sure that the friction plate and all that stuff is good. And then we can put it back down on its wheels, put some oil in it. All right, let's see if I can flip this up. Oh, this one's not bad at all. Okay, so be aware that if the tank is full of fuel, you might have some gasoline dripping out, so be ready for that. But I think we're good here. I don't think we have very much. And I like doing this with the engine empty of oil. That way there we have no chance of hydrolocking anything, so that's pretty good. And I should also say, or see, sorry, before we go too far, is this going to rotate now? All the way around. Oh yeah, okay. That's pretty good. And actually reminds me I need to put these two screws and it'll be easier to do it right now. Now we got 4 bolts holding the bed pan over here, bottom pan I should say. Then we'll get to the inside and see what's going on. Alright, let's have a look. And it actually looks pretty good in here. We got a little bit of stuff down in here. We're going to clean that up, but yeah, looks quite nice. Well, I'll just stand there and come take a look. So for those of you who aren't exactly super familiar with what is going on in here exactly, let me tell you, because I have a little bit of an idea. So right here, this plate is called your friction plate. This wheel here, this is your friction wheel. So the way these work is this is like your flywheel. It's rotating all the time with the engine. And then when you apply the levers, this plate gets tilted towards the gear, engaging it. And that's what drives your wheels. As you can tell, if I turn one wheel or the other, it drives this wheel. Now, your gears are going to be dependent on which side you are on this plate. So if the plate rotates one way or the other, it'll be your forward gear, and if you go on the opposite side of the center line, it'll be your reverse. That's how that works. Obviously, you got some gear reductions here to your wheels. These guys here, these drums over here, are for your steering assist. So if you pull the triggers, where are they? If you pull that trigger there underneath the handle, it'll release this mechanism here, and it'll disconnect this wheel from turning. As you can tell right now, it's engaging, but if I was to pull, I can't do this with one hand, but you kind of get the idea there. What I'm looking for in here are two things. I'm looking to make sure that this friction wheel isn't worn out. There's no flat spots or anything like that. So if I turn it nice and slow, I'm going to do a good inspection of it there. The other thing I'm looking for is to make sure that the plate and the wheel are clean and dry. You don't want anything on these whatsoever. Moisture, even just condensation, will cause them to slip and you're not going to go anywhere. Many times, too many times, I've seen people take a straw and think they're doing a great job maintaining their machines, and they'll spray penetrating oil all up inside here without taking the panel off, not knowing what's in here. And what happens is you get a whole bunch of penetrating oil on this flywheel and on this friction plate, and nothing moves. If you want to lubricate these gears, that's perfectly fine, but make sure nothing gets in here. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to just kind of make sure everything's clean, put this cover back on, and then we'll slap some oil inside the engine. Now that it's back on its wheels, let's go ahead and put some oil in here. And that's also going to bring me to my tip of the day, which might be kind of silly for some people, but when you're filling an engine with oil, if you're decanting one of these 1 liter bottles, this is how you should do it. It's actually got a little, diagram on the top there, but you're supposed to pour it out this way. And the reason for that is because you can, this one's not full, however, but you can pour out way more and have it aimed much easier than if you were to do it this way, right? So let's try that without making a mess here. I can have it right down here and have it pouring just like that. So this is going to take about 1 liter of oil. We're going to get it all filled, and then after that, see if it fires. Alright guys, this is the moment of truth. The moment we've all been waiting for, including myself. So let's set the choke. Choke is here, so set it to start. Key is on. Full throttle. Prime it a couple times. Actually, I should check. Do we have any gas in here? I don't know. It doesn't look very promising at this point. I'm going to take the screen out just to see. Well, there's some in there. It's not very much. These screens are super helpful, by the way. It gets rid of all sorts of garbage from making its way into your carburetor. Make sure it's always in there. Should be enough gas to get it started. I'm going to give it a couple of pulls. If it doesn't start, we'll know why. But let's see what happens here. Oh, actually what I should do with the ignition switch off, just give it a couple of pulls to see how it feels before I get it too far here. So that's compression stroke. Oh yeah, that's much better. That's much better. I couldn't turn this over, if you guys remember, so clearly something was stuck in the rings. So it feels pretty free now, so let's give it a shot here. I got a feeling I need to add some gas. Yep, let's go get some gas. Flexible straw, that's the trick right there. Oh yeah. Let's try this again. And we're gonna have it at run. And you know what? Why struggle with the manual start when you got an electric starter? See if that works. Prime a couple times here. So the electric starter works, but the engine's not running. I don't think it's getting any fuel. Let's try one more time, and if that doesn't work, we're gonna have to see if there's any spark, number one, and then fuel. I really suspect fuel though. I don't know why, but I just do. Because the primer doesn't feel quite right. Okay, let's try one more time. Nope. Alright, so sorry guys, the camera for shaking here, but I'm trying to get you guys the best possible view of underneath. This is the drain for the carburetor bowl, and I'm just curious, oh that's tight, to see what I'm going to get for fuel in here. Ooh, it doesn't look very good at all, and actually the valve is on, so the tank should be technically draining itself. And that's not a lot of gas coming through. So I'm not too happy about that. So it looks like the carburetor is going to have to come off. So if I turn off the valve, this should stop. Yep. And it does. And if I turn it back on, should start pouring again. Sorry, I'm not even pointing in the right way. Yeah, see, it's not even pouring that much. Well, I guess we're pulling the carburetor. Okay, hold up guys. Before I start taking all this apart, I said I would check for spark, and I didn't yet. So let's double check. I'm gonna hold this with a rag so that I'm insulated from it and not get a shock. And hopefully you guys can still see the spark plug. So I'm gonna just ground it out against the valve cover here. Make sure this is on. I have it plugged in, so I'm gonna use the electric starter. And here we go. There is an abundance of spark. So that's not the case, and that's not good. So I guess we are, in fact, pulling the carburetor. Okay, well, let's get to it. So getting to the carburetor isn't all that hard, I mean, considering what it looks like. But once you got the heat shroud away from there, and you got the other, I'm going to call this like the master control, because you got all of your buttons and everything on there. And you got a pile of hardware here. Like there's probably, what is that, like, I don't know, 10 of them I suppose, I haven't counted. But then you can get access to the carburetor. So we got these double nuts here. I'm going to call them double nuts because they are double the thickness. And then you can just take these off. You got a couple more, like this is like over-engineered. But the reason it's all shrouded like this, guys, is because snowblowers don't have air filters. Because in the winter months, there's not much dust. However, you don't want, blowing snow while you're operating your snowblower to make its way in the carburetor. So that's why it's all shrouded the way you see it. So anyways, let's get it off and put on the bench, open it up and see what's inside. And it's the next day, guys. I mean, pretty obviously tell because I'm not wearing the same shirt. However, the reason I do this is because some of these videos can take a long time, and to try and prevent burnout, because I do work long hours. I've been working quite a bit of overtime lately, and I still want to get you guys some good content. I gotta take a break in between. So we're gonna carry on. I got the carburetor right here. So let's open it up and see what we got. I'm not sure if you guys can tell through the with the color on the camera, but judging by the color of the fuel coming out of the carburetor right now, maybe you can see it better here. It's kind of yellowish, and yeah, I know you're not supposed to judge things before you get in there or judge people, whatever. You know what I mean? Don't judge a book by its cover is kind of what I'm getting at. However, let's open this up. Oh yeah, look at that. Just puking out. And that's one of the reasons why I use a nice tray like this. And I just keep making a mess. Sprinkling it all over. But anyways, see what we have in store here for us, because, I'm assuming, there we go. I am assuming that it's not going to be good because I don't know. I just don't like the color of this fuel. Okay, so we take a look at the drain plug here, or sorry, the hole plug. This is the drain plug, but the bolt that holds everything together, it's got some discoloration already. Like that's not a good sign. And guys, really, that's terrible. That's nasty. So we're gonna have to, dunk this carburetor clearly into the ultrasonic cleaner, take it all apart, see what we can do. I'm sure we'll have good luck with it, because carburetors usually come fairly clean unless they're super plugged up and then stuff inside the orifices doesn't want to come out, like it stays in there, then it won't flow either air or gas. So yeah, you guys have seen me do this a bunch before. So I'm just going to take my ultrasonic cleaner like this one right here. I can put a link in the description box, but all I do is I fill this up with some hot water, as hot as I can from the tap, and I'll put a little bit of dish soap, run it for 20 minutes, half an hour, and I get back to it. Usually the parts are nice and clean, and I go through the jets with a little brush, like nothing like a drill bit. I don't want to open up the jet more than it already is. Either a brush or even just a piece of wire, like a copper wire, and just make sure that all the jets, all the orifices are clean. Blow it dry with some low pressure. You don't want to take anything and put like 150 pounds of air in there and damage it. But yeah, so in the next scene, we're going to have the carburetor all cleaned up, back installed onto the unit, and see if it starts. That's pretty much where we're going to be at. And just like that, it's another day again. Yeah, it's been one of those weeks, guys. I've been working tons, getting a little bit tired, but we're good. And so is the carburetor. As you can tell here, it looks much better. It's a lot cleaner. I went through all the jets. It's all back together. So let's hope that it starts. So I'm just gonna grab some hearing protection here in case it does. All right, so choke, primer, and that's it, right? Let's see. I'm actually just gonna plug it in like I have it here because you know what? Like I said, I'm tired. I don't want to pull it. Put these on. Choke, primer, gas is on, yeah. Oh wait, oh, starting the engine. Choke, yeah. Primer, oh, this one's got an on-off switch right here. Let's try that now. That, my friends, is probably the nicest sound I've heard in a long time. It works. So this one has been battling me start to finish, even for a new unit. So, you know what? We had some snow just recently, actually last night. So let's get suited up. Let's go try it. Awesome. And if you've made it all the way to the end of the video like you have already, thank you so much. But you know that it's time for the tip of the day. Today's tip of the day, I know I did one earlier in the video, but this is the more official one, I guess. Today's tip of the day is going to be on fuel stabilizers in particular. It doesn't matter which brand you decide, just be very cautious and read the directions on the bottle. So I'm just going to use one as an example. There's a couple of products out there. I'm not sponsored and I'm not beating on anybody. I use what's called Startron. You can overdose it. It doesn't matter. It's written right on the bottle. I've had very good luck with that product. So for that reason, I use it a lot. Other products like Stabil, there's a few other ones that don't come to mind, but they need to be measured. So what I mean by that is they give you on the side of the bottle a dosage. So if you have, for example, 20 liters, you need to use 5 milliliters of this product to stabilize that fuel properly. Like most of us would think, well, more is better. However, in this case, I'm pretty sure, based off the red color, that fuel that came out, it was overdosed. And as you can tell, it didn't do any better. So read the directions on the bottle, make sure you have the right dosage, store your machines properly, and you won't end up having these kind of problems. So again, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give me a thumbs up if you have liked it, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I will catch you all in the next video. Again, thank you.